Mr. Hannon has a family obligation that we thought his birthday, so we'd like to get him out of here as soon as possible.
I appreciate that, Mayor.
I'd like to thank the commissioners for giving us this time and considering two ordinances which we are proposing to change the code. The first one involving capital improvements and the other one involving reporting requirements of the rent board and the landlords. Essentially, the capital improvement ordinance would do two things. One, it would reinstate the capital improvement increases provision, which were sort of inadvertently deleted when the hardship proposal was included was changed in the code. And it also serves to conform the capital improvement process to the hardship variance.
So just explain what that means, so explain how it operates, how it works.
Okay.
In other words, tell us how it's processed, if it's gonna be done.
Okay, for the capital improvement or the hardship, the landlord would apply to the rent leveling board. There's an application fee. They would submit the appropriate documentation as to what the capital improvements are. They would submit, we would ask them for how they filed it with respect to the IRS, because we would only consider things that are capitalized over a period of time, and the increase, if granted, would just be for that period of time, the depreciation time of the improvement, and it would not be included in the base rent for annual increases. So in other words, if the landlord provides heat, they can go up to a 5% increase. That would not be included in that 5% portion of it. So it would be a fixed amount for a period of time over the life of the improvement. We would review the application. We would review what they're doing, making sure that it's for the benefit of the tenants, and if granted, they can be up to 10% increase in the rent.
And there are notice and hearing requirements to come before the board, so that if anybody, any tenants have an objection, they have the right to be heard, and we could review it.
Would be a hearing before the board.
I read in here, I just need a clarification here, under D, on the red line copy.
Yes.
It talks about the provisions, and pretty much what Jim was talking about, the increase rents to a total maximum of 10%, or at the discretion of the board, to increase rents over 10% per unit. Can you talk to that a little bit? 'Cause I thought the max was 10%, but now this is talking about going over the 10%.
With the implication elsewhere, I think in here is that the 10% could be in addition to the 5% annual increase, so it could be a maximum of 15%.
So maximum of 15, because then somewhere else in here, I think it was at the end, it might be the other. No, it's still the same, 5.
If you see in the A8, it has.
It's under G, maximum allowable, maximum increase allowable. It says under either a rent increase, all right, or a hardship increase, and this might be something different, I don't know, that's why I'm asking the question. All right, or a capital improvement increase pursuant to 532.5D. In no event may rents be increased more than 10% in any 12-month period. So I was a little confused as to what the total increase could be. Is it 10%, is it 15, is it 20?
The intent would be to have 15 the max, 10 for the capital improvement and 5, and then they would get their normal increase.
So the cap would be 15%?
Yes.
Yeah, and this is referring to, because, Commissioner, this is the section with 532.5, which is dealing just with the hardship rent and the capital improvement. So under this provision, you can only increase it over 10%. Looking at, and that's just dealing with this section of it. Obviously, the 5% is dealt with other places in the code.
So it's a 10% in this section and 5%.
5% is the normal. You can increase it.
Yeah,
yes.
under A8, they
You
reference
might
15%.
want to consider just putting what that global increase could be, so people don't get the wrong impression like I did, and they think, you're going to jack rents up 20%.
If you go to A8 on the first page, which is not changing, you say
Yeah,
15%.
Mara, I had a similar question because, Jim, right where you're going, A8 says, no increase in rent, including any increase
Right.
permitted under 532 2C shall exceed 15%.
Right,
So I think that where, and I agree with the commissioner, somewhere you have to be, it has to be language that's absolutely clear.
okay, we'll fix
Whatever
that.
whatever the increase you're asking for under whatever the category is, there's only a maximum limit that's allowed in any given year, no matter what.
Correct.
So we just have to amend section G at the end, right, most likely?
Yeah, and we can even do a cross-reference subject to A8 or however, so there's at least a reference, or just put clear language.
Is there a criteria what they have to meet as far as the improvement, a dollar amount? Or so there's like a scale of what the rent can go up? I mean, how do you base it on the improvements? In other words, if you're saying that it's for capital improvements, right?
Capital improvements gotta
Right.
be, and then capital improvement has to fall into the category the IRS defines what is a capital improvement, has to fall into those categories before you can even be considered.
So there's a criteria that
So
you
there are
guys are
criteria,
following.
yes.
I know I have some buildings in Lyndhurst that fall under that, and they, probably, they do it, you know, it's probably very similar to what you guys are trying to achieve. There's something you might wanna look at, so.
The other question I had, which is similar, in the capital improvement increase, you refer to the IRS rules regarding when you're accounting practices employed by the landlord
Right,
in calculating operating expenses. You know, this is a technical point, but the IRS rules allow for accelerated deductions for things that otherwise would be capital items,
right,
right? So accelerated expensing, which could affect the earlier part where you do a calculation around 7% return,
right,
right? So I just think it needs to be clarified as like for example, if something is in the normal course a capitalizable item, yet the IRS rules would allow for accelerated deducting of that, it's going to affect either the hardship increase or the capital increase. I just think you should be clear about whether or not you would, in considering the capital improvement adjustment, whether or not you would consider certain of the aspects of the IRS rules on the accelerated deducting of capitalizable items, just for a point of clarification. And there might be other things there, but things like that, I think, and what struck me was you basically said consistent with the code, and everything I just said would be very consistent with the code, but might be a complicating factor in how to determine how much of a rent increase you're going to allow. So just give that some thought, please.
okay. Well, I think that would be, as we review the, the application, and the board would have to make a determination whether if the landlord chose to expense an item or accelerate the depreciation, whether they would grant grant it as a capital improvement or not.
Well, yeah, so on one side, if they accelerate it as an expense, it wouldn't be in the capital improvement request
Right.
because it's in the expense side. If it's in the expense side, it may actually reduce the return on investment threshold. I think you just said about 7%,
Right,
which they can then employ and get, say, look, I'm going to take this over here, which is going to improve my ability to get a hardship increase because I'm not achieving the 7% return. And on the other side, I got enough to get a capital improvement. And so it's just somebody
Right.
who would be, I think, financially advising a landlord of scale would consider all of that to maximize the
Yeah.
opportunity on both sides, either capital improvement or hardship.
yeah, the only thing, if he accelerated, it'd be a one-shot deal, and the 7%, maybe he won't hit it 1 year, but it'll only be the 1 year, and then we probably will not grant him if it's not an ongoing, below 7%.
I do.
So these are a part of the review process.
So I would just be clear about that, so that, because you're leaving it up to the board to interpret that, and you say also that you may require a professional to be, I think, for certain things, certain apartment complexes, I think it should be that you do require. I think they should have somebody who has more professional financial perspective to be present to provide testimony before the rent leveling board. So I just, you refer to may require a couple times, it's pretty global. Just consider the fact that you may really want to have someone there to address those questions.
Any other questions, Commissioner?
One last question, and then we're gonna go sing happy birthday to Joe Jordan. On, I guess it's 532.5, item number 11E, all right? It says the board may establish other and further criteria in the execution of its duties as it may deem appropriate from time to time in any given case. My only question is there any other oversight? Is that with or without oversight?
Oversight on the
Meaning,
board.
do you consult with anyone? Do you consult with the town attorney? Do you consult with the mayor, the public safety director, or you guys just?
I think we left ourselves a lot of wiggle room
A
here
lot of wiggle room. That's what I'm
gave us a lot of latitude to make a ruling on this.
Okay.
Now, if we deny the landlord, he probably can appeal to somebody, but
Well, that's my question.
is there an appeal process?
Who would that? Who is there one, and who would that be to?
We have, there is not an appeal process defined. It's sort of,
I mean, I don't want to pigeonhole you guys, but on the other hand, I don't want somebody to read this and say, well, what are they just going to be able to change the rules in the middle of an application, however they deem appropriate? Just something to think about.
No, I understand the due process.
Take it under consideration. I'm not looking to limit, your ability to do your job. We appreciate the fact that you're doing this as such high-paid volunteers. But just something to think about to give people a little bit more of a comfort level.
okay.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Other than that, I think you guys did an excellent job.
So, can you guys make the appropriate changes?
I have one more question.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner.
Sorry, time's up.
Just real quick, in another journal on Saturday, they referred to the fact that the rent leveling board is tracking student enrollments out of apartments. I think it was Lori Monaco, if I'm quoting that correctly. I don't want to quote wrong, so I might be wrong. When I read 532-6B, the filing information doesn't address.
Correct.
Doesn't address that. So is the journal right or wrong? Or
They're incorrect.
Okay. So you're not doing that because that's
No.
If you are, the criteria that you established here doesn't include it. So that was the root of my question.
No.
So if you're not, that's fine. I'm done. No more discussion required.
All right, so you guys will make the appropriate changes
Right.
talked about. We're getting back to Mr. Jim Tempo and the municipal clerk.
That would include both, we have the two ordinances,
Yeah, I don't think anybody has any problems with the other one. And thanks for correcting the date.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
It was because that's when the provision was put in 1988, so it was sort of a go forward from that point in time.
Absolutely.
Nice job, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for.